Okie dokie, what's up guys? We got ourselves another nice quick tip video tutorial on Warrior 3. Okay, all right, so as always, I'm going to show you what the pose looks like, and then I'm going to walk you through how to get into it, along with our muscle engagement and our eye gaze. Okie dokie. All right, so I'm going to show you on each side, and I'm going to show you from this view with my mat being like this, and then also with my mat pointing towards the camera. All right, so this is going to be my Warrior 3 on my left leg. So ideally in your Warrior 3, you're trying to create one straight line from the top of your head all the way to your heel, not to your toes, to your heel. You want to keep the hips dialed down towards the mat. You want to keep a nice long spine. You want to keep any wrinkles out of the back of your neck, and what that simply means is that instead of looking forward, we're looking down. My standing foot is planted flat and firmly. I'm using my toes to help me grip my mat. Hands can be at the heart center. They can be out to either side. These are airplane arms. Gotta take a break. These are airplane arms. They can be reaching behind you, or they could go forward. So no matter where your hand placement goes, you want to make sure that you are not compromising the integrity of the pose. What I mean by saying compromising the integrity. So if you're here, you have your arms reaching towards the front, but you're like this is not your Warrior 3. I don't know what that is. So remember, just keep in mind, practice is progress. So give yourself the time, like allow yourself to go through the motion of feeling yourself in each variation of the pose before you try to get to the one that you really want the most, because whenever you do get there, it's going to be so worth it because you've worked so hard to meet yourself at every different variation of the posture. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to show you from the front view. Okay. So now I'm going to show you from the front. All right, so I'm going to get into my Warrior 3. So remember, in your Warrior 3, you're trying to create that straight line from your head to your foot. So if you notice that you're down here, you want to lengthen out that spine, find that nice flat back. This is how your Warrior 3 should look. Remember, I'm looking down, not up. Okay. All right, so let's work on some muscle engagement, alignment, and eye gaze. So I'm going to start on my left side. So how do we get into a Warrior 3? Well, you saw me. I mean, you can simply dive right into it, or if you want to, say you're already in a Warrior 3, you already have your Warrior 3 down. Another way to kind of practice it would be to get into it from various poses. So you could try to get into it from a one-legged mountain. Or maybe you even try to get into it from a high crescent. Your high crescent is here, so you would align the body here and then float here, if I can do it too. Okay. But for the purpose of this video, that's for anybody that's a little more advanced. Maybe you're just looking for a way to kind of challenge yourself. Those are some options of poses that you could go into a Warrior 3 from. Okay, so we're going to simply dive right into our Warrior 3, okay? So we're going to start with our left leg. So it doesn't really matter about foot placement right now, just for the fact that we're just practicing this one pose. If you were flowing into it From another pose, ideally you would always want your front foot at the top of your mat, nowhere in the middle, because then obviously you're going to be off of your mat if you transition into another pose. So we're going to just be right here in our mountain pose. And then from here, I'm going to take my hands to my heart center, and I'm going to start to shift my weight into my left foot. My toes are spread as wide as I can get them, and I'm going to really kind of feel my foot planting firmly into my mat. So if you've watched any of my other previous videos, so when you're doing any kind of balancing poses, you're going to want to be balancing on, my feet are so dirty, are going to be from this part of the foot and your heel. I guess that's the ball of your foot. I should just say that. Okay, so the ball of your foot and your heel. So before I even attempt to get into it, I'm going to be in my mountain pose, and I'm going to feel my feet planted into my mat. From here, start to shift your weight a little more into the left leg and a little off of your right leg. Start to come onto the ball of your right foot. So the heel of the right foot is up. Then from here, take your gaze out in front of you, and then slowly shift it down to about a foot in front of the top of your mat. So it can be off the mat, it can be on the mat, it can be at your big toe for all that matters, but it's you're down, you're looking down. So as you start to shift your gaze down, start to lift your back foot off the mat. The further you shift your gaze down, the more you start to tip your head forward, shifting your gaze as well, automatically sending your back foot in front of, your back foot behind you. And then once you're there, so maybe you can only get your back foot this far off of the mat. That's okay, and it's a good place to start. But remember, each time you practice this pose, you're gonna get a little bit stronger, you're gonna get a little more confident, you're definitely gonna get more familiar with the pose itself, how your body feels when it's in it, where your muscles are going to remember exactly what to do, your body is gonna remember exactly what to do. So if this is your first time trying this out, just give yourself a break. Even if it's your 10th time trying this out, once again, give yourself a break. We need time to learn things. It's brand new. All right, so let's try that again. So let's get into our mountain pose and then go into our one-legged mountain. Gaze is in front. And then from here, no, just kidding. Okay, so let's try that again, one more time. So we're in our mountain pose, hands are at the heart center. Start to shift your gaze is in front of you, soft gaze. Remember, we're trying to find about a foot radius of an area that we're just kind of gazing at. From there, we're gonna start to shift our weight into the left foot. As we are shifting into the left, we're lifting off on the right, bringing right heel up. Go ahead and start to shift your head and your gaze towards the front of your mat. As you're doing that, start to float your right leg behind you. Continue to shift your gaze down to the ground. Lengthen out your neck, eventually landing your gaze about a foot or two in front of your mat. Now that you're there, we're going to check in with our alignment. I'm going to switch sides. No, I'm just kidding, I'm not. So check in with your alignment. So we want our floating foot to be active. So that means that our foot is flexed. Toes aren't pointing, they're flexing towards us. You want to find some length in your spine. You want a nice straight spine. Continue to breathe. Now check in with your hips. We want to make sure that both of the hips are pointing down towards the ground. So in theory, I'm going to switch to the opposite side. So in theory, whenever we try to do this, our hips automatically just want to open up like that rather than staying down towards the ground. That's another thing. It'll come, the more you practice, the stronger you get. It will come more naturally to have the hips just dial down instead of opening up. So now that we've checked in, we've got both of our hips are pointing down towards the ground. Our foot is flexed, and we're going to try to lift that back leg up just a little bit more. In order to do that, we're going to engage that floating leg. So I'm going to, whenever you flex the foot, you're automatically going to engage your calf muscle. And then from there, that's going to help you automatically engage your hamstring muscle. And then last, we're going to squeeze our floating glutes. So the more we're able to squeeze and activate that, the higher we're able to lift that floating foot. So now maybe we've got it up a little bit higher, but our hips have opened up a little bit. So just dial those hips back down. And keep your hands at your heart center just for the sake of the practice for right now. All right, good job. So let's do that on our right side, okay? I'm just switching to the other end of my mat so you can see the same view. You can stay exactly where you are. All right, so we're in our mountain pose, nice and tall. This time we're going to engage the right leg. Start to shift the weight into your right foot and come onto the ball of your left toes. Gaze is out in front of you. As you start to shift the gaze down, start to lean forward. As you start to lean forward, start to float your back foot. Check in with your floating toes. Are they flexed? Check in with your hips. Are they pointing down towards the ground? Are you breathing? Where is your eye gaze? It should be about 1 foot to 2 feet in front of your mat. Awesome job. Okay, so a couple of pointers for the Warrior 3. So let's say you're like, I think I'm in my Warrior 3, but you're way down here and you're like this, almost to where you're like using the ground to push you off. So remember, you want to have that nice long straight spine. So to get the feel for that, what you can do is you can find your mountain pose, and then from here place your hands on your hips. This is just going to help you notice where your hips go, and then you're just going to hinge forward. So when you're hinging forward, you want to only hinge. You can take a slight bend in the knees too, because you don't want to lock those out. So the reason we're doing this is so you can kind of get a feel for where the top half of your body is supposed to be when you're in your Warrior 3. Because a lot of times you get in it and you're like, am I in it? I feel like I'm up, but am I down? Am I up too high? Do I need to go down lower? So doing this is just going to help you, oh, okay, here I am. I've got this nice straight spine. And then maybe even from here, you can go into your Warrior 3. You've got the alignment for the top half of your body, and then you just work towards the back half of your body. All right, that's all I got for today, gang. So as always, comments, feedback, if I left something out, or if you're just like, this does not make any sense, let me know. Like, you know, just because I explained it this way doesn't mean that this is not the only explanation to get into this pose. So if something didn't make sense, you gotta let me know so I can help you out. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, all right. Thanks for your love and support. Bye.